Hey guys, in this video I'd like to share a little bit about my story about how I crashed and burned and what helped me to get up again. So spoiler alert, what helped me to get up again is a model called spiral dynamics. Total nerdy, I know. Okay, so a bit about myself. I grew up in a quite a religious context. I studied philosophy in university, and then I studied theology for 5 years, and then shifted my direction. I moved into law. I became a lawyer, and I did a business degree. And when I got to articling, things went south pretty badly. I'd say I worked in quite a toxic work environment that devalued me, and that hit me where it hurt. I did not have the value memes or skills or abilities to somehow stick up for myself, to put up those boundaries, and to have that kind of self-respect to challenge that. And I just crashed and burned. Like I said, started working these 36-hour days, all day, all night, and all day, rinse and repeat kind of thing. Absolutely horrible. My brain stopped working at the end of it. I really couldn't think a cognitive thought properly anymore. Couldn't make heads or tails of the ended up going to criminal procedure. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back is I went into court one day, and judge pretty much called me the stupidest lawyer he's ever met for taking my interpretation of the code, trying to I tried to produce evidence from a witness on bail. The judge was not happy about that, and it didn't really pan out. So there you go. I walked out of that courtroom and said, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to be a lawyer. It was quite a moment, but I was completely fried. It took me a couple years after that just to get my head on straight and recover. And this is the story of how I did it. I came across this concept called spiral dynamics. Spiral dynamics is sort of a psychological / evolutionary model of human development. It looks at the development and maturity of individuals, as well as drawing analogies with the development of society and organizations, and kind of identifies broad stroke characterization or classifications of stages of development. Now, the point here is not so much that these stages of development are like better than the other. The real core point of spiral dynamics is that our perceptions of what we want and need influence our values. Okay, so this is it's really taking the broader perspective, evolutionary perspective, that our ancestors have gone back billions of years. They found a fossil of a mushroom like 3.5 billion years old encased in lava. I mean, our ancestors go back much longer than maybe most of the stars in the visible universe have existed. We have been alive for so long, and so we're so deeply entrenched in reality. And this transcends our mind. This transcends like our kind of cognitive processes about, oh, I think this or I think that. Our perception of what we need and want is highly contextual. Our contextual needs inform our values and the way we see what is good and what is necessary. So this is the kind of concept. So it developed out of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You may have heard of Maslow. I talked about kind of like a pyramid where human beings have more basic needs underneath, food, warmth, reproduction, clothing, kind of like basic survival needs, and then higher needs build on top of that. So spiral dynamics was sort of an attempt to kind of statistically, scientifically validate Maslow's hierarchy of needs through research on university grad students with the question, what is human maturity? what makes a person a mature person? What does that mean? And so all these different answers begin to emerge. And so that's the research about, oh, wait a minute. People's values are highly contextual. It depends on their perceptions of their needs. So the spiral dynamics, and I'm going to get to the link here, how this helped me on my journey. And again, spoiler alert, it's really in the blind spot of the developmental cycle. So Claire Graves had this cyclical theory based on Maslow's hierarchy that sort of said, okay, people have these needs that go back and forth, for example, between individualistic and social or communal, back to individualistic, social, communal, and these needs and these stages of human development build on one another. And if you don't have a strong foundation underneath, it's shaky, kind of like an upwards staircase. But another aspect is that it's sometimes easier to see further down, but you can't always see right around the corner at those stages that immediately support your development. And so basically spiral dynamics classifies people's needs and desires and their values in a series of colors. So the first stage it kind of describes is beige, like a brown color that is very fundamental, again, talking about those very basic human needs for kind of physical, spatial necessities of food, water, and a person can get in touch with this sort of experience if they've ever been thirsty, for example. Their spatial awareness begins to change, their perception of reality begins to shift a little bit to a more kind of raw, primal sort of individualistic perspective of survival. But once those basic needs are satisfied, societies and individual, families, organizations, groups, they develop into a more kind of communal, tribal group. And tribes tend to be characterized by, the purple color. That is respect for the ancestors, respect for elders and traditions. The maybe magical thinking is a bit anachronistic, but wearing the same outfits, part of a group, and that need for belonging. That's so fundamental. When a person doesn't have belonging, what happens to them, right? This is a very basic need. And once that need is met, again, individuals come out of that. Top dog, I'm number one. The gangster, respect, the gold chains. I'm awesome, my count, I'm cool, violence, sex, right? High risk taking. This is actually a stage of development, and we see this, the rebellious, maybe in the toddler, maybe in the teenager, but it plays a role in, conquering empires, Rome. So we have, again, there's these tendencies towards violence, and what I'm starting to get here is that if I say that it's a value and it's people's perception of what they want, that can already begin to look a little suspect. Here we're talking about the staircase again, the blind spot. So this develops into the blue phase, which many more people are comfortable with, and that is based on principles. The rule of law, that the law applies to all people equally, regardless of their personage, virtues, justice, temperance, self-control, prudence, fortitude, right? Courage, these sort of virtues, and theological virtues, faith in God, charity. We have property lines, principles and rules of property lines in order to allow for the value of generosity, that people can be generous with their property. Charity, hope, hoping beyond hope, to believe in the goodness of people. These sort of values are the blue color, right? These kind of often traditionally associated with religion, but these, again, are more social, back towards the social aspect. And again, so I talked about the red phase to the blue phase. So there's a blind spot there. How does a sort of principled, communal, live for the greater good community treat the individualistic, violent gangster, the backward, you know, reprobate, right? Word wasn't coming to mind. But that blue phase, again, it can become, it takes integrity, right? And it can start to have, when it's stable, when it's healthy, it can develop. But it can also develop through some unhealthy phases through critique, such as John Stuart Mill's utilitarianism. He was criticizing a lot of the, you know, the judges, the ecclesiastical leaders who were, you know, these are the rules, I live by them, damn it, so everybody else has to be miserable too. John Stuart Mill was like, really? Like, honestly, like, are they really hurting anybody? What's the worst that's actually gonna happen, right? Like, give me a break. You can't make a freaking exception to the law, right? You know, let's talk about actual pleasure. What's greatest for the greatest number of people? Let's be scientific about it. Let's be efficient about it. And some glitz and glamour, success, the nice watch, flashy, back to the individualistic orange is, you know, science, technology, being, you know, I would say that like the Industrial Revolution, you know, enlightenment, stuff like that. And then again, how do the blue people see that orange? It's around the corner, but from that perspective, the kind of glitz and glamour and empiricism, you know, is another stage of development. And that again turns back to a more empathetic, environmental, kind of, let's say, self-aware, socially self-aware, green phase. And then people, I would say, start to develop again to more individualistic sort of systems understanding yellow, which is really oriented again towards understanding people's, you know, diverse experiences and diverse needs. And a lot of, I would say, law is interested in, you know, the system's perspective of, you know, you have diverse people with different needs and so on. So, okay, my story, what happened is that I would say, again, kind of rooted in those blue, kind of deep in religion, and trying to live that life. And then, you know, I shifted over to be a lawyer, which is of course classically orange, right? The glitz, the glamour, the nice watch, the whole shebang, being smart, efficient, accurate, all this stuff, right? But it's still rooted in blue, right? And when I hit a difficult place in my life where I was dealing with people who were maybe not completely mentally stable, but also had a lot of power over me, and my possibility of becoming a lawyer was really dependent on them, you know, taking their abuse and their, you know, getting people who were willing to testify that I was a piece of like scumbag, horrible human being if I didn't, you know, follow them and just work harder and work these 36-hour days and slave away till I got completely messed up. I didn't have the wherewithal to deal with that. I didn't have that integrated red. I didn't have the self-respect. I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the ability to take risks, to stand up for myself and be honest about what I wanted for myself. I didn't have that sexuality integrated. I didn't have the drive towards violence integrated. I completely lacked that stable foundation of red due to my circumstance in life. And I didn't have the value memes or skills or abilities to, again, put up those boundaries or stand up for myself. So here in my home gym, this is where I discovered spiral dynamics in that way. We stumbled across it online, a website, actualized.org. Leo has a YouTube series on spiral dynamics, so I had stumbled across it on YouTube, read some books and so on, and thought about it, and I thought, wait a minute, yeah, that's really where I'm lacking. I need to take more risks. I need to be more strong. I need to respect myself. And that's how I healed through being completely burned out and unable to think a logical thought or type a sentence anymore. I was completely messed up. I wouldn't just say it was psychological or psychopharmacological even. It was deep in my cells. I was completely burnt out, right? So it was that understanding, that insight that I was not able to see my need or be honest with myself about what I wanted. You know, of course, it's a work in process, but I'm feeling much better now. I'm feeling back to life. You know, a couple years at the home gym, just lifting weights and just, you know, being more honest about myself. It's been great, and I feel much better now. And I'm doing much better in all areas of my life. And I have that opportunity to re-explore those other aspects of myself. So yeah, that's how academic model of spiral dynamics really changed my life.